Welcome to the Kitoko podcast. Today with Maya Ladner. She's the program director in Preneurship for Regenerative Food Systems at the ZHAW. And we are here at the beautiful place at the Lagerstrasse, straight in the building of the ZHAW. And I want to welcome you, Maya, on the podcast. And you, Amadeo, warm welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, that's cool that we had time to meet each other, and maybe first also to get to know you a little bit better. Maya, who are you? What are you doing? And what is your job here at the ZHAW?
Yeah, so as you already introduced me, I'm Maya Ladner. I'm the study program director for a new master's degree at the ZHAW. It's called the Master in Preneurship for Regenerative Food Systems. We recently started this spring semester, and basically my role is to keep it all together, to make sure all the areas are being developed properly and implemented in the ways that we want them, and to further develop the program. And just maybe one sentence to the program, it's a new master's degree where we really try to combine new and diverse topics in economy, food systems, regeneration, natural sciences, with a very new educational system that really has the students as a focus and their personal development in the center.
Wow, really interesting, especially the part with the personal development. Of course, for us.
That's why we're here, I guess. Now we want to hear more. And who are you as a person? I mean, this was your job, and this is always a little bit a difficult question, but I'm sure you're a pretty interesting person. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. So who am I as a person? I find that very difficult. I think of myself as a very curious person. I like to discuss things with people. I love to entertain people. So I think that's also where the whole food comes into. I'm very passionate about food and creating systems for a future where everybody has healthy nutrition. So that's where all of those combined come in. I'm also always very curious about how people are developing themselves, what's driving them and their motivation, their perspectives. And otherwise, I just really love to drink black tea and milk. I love music and concerts. Yeah.
Thank you for the introduction. Also on the personal side, so it's a hard question for a lot of people actually. If we ask them, hey, what are you beside your job? Job is mostly first, especially in Switzerland. So well done.
Thank you.
But this time was also easier. Last time you asked what makes you special, and the person was right at the beginning, a little bit shocked. But we want to go deep and.
Yeah, but that's important. That's really important. Like, for me at the moment, I'm in a place where I think everybody needs to ask themselves, like, what makes us special? What drives us? What's my purpose? And to also understand that it's okay to say, I have something that makes me special. And I've thought about it, and I'm going to use my strength in that sense. So I think it's a very, very good question. And I think it's good if people have to jump out of their comfort zone of constantly criticizing themselves into a role where they go like, yes, I actually have something to bring to the table. So I love that you asked that question.
Okay, this was Arnold's start, and let's ask the question again. So we talked about passion, strength. So what drives you, and why are you doing what you're doing?
So I think for the longest of time, I thought what drives me most is the idea that we need more sustainability, more regeneration potential in food systems. That's my background. I studied food science. And for the longest of time, this pressure of becoming more sustainable, becoming a better planet, to have like systems for the future generations, what drove me initially very strongly, and it still does. But more and more, I've realized that my personal drive comes from wanting to bring people together around a table, let them enjoy food and a glass of wine, and also let them discuss how we could drive this change, understand what really motivates us and what keeps us back. We only have like if we don't have enough energy in our everyday life to do what drives us, we're never going to create change. So I think these baseline needs of enough energy, motivation, self-compassion, empathy, etc., to find out how we can have that in a good educational system in general in our lives, that's what drives me at the moment. Like really bringing people together, but also like looking at them individually.
Really interesting. So you mentioned 2 points, more on the general side and more of also the bigger picture, and also on the individual side. If we maybe go first also to the bigger picture of education, also of your master, which you deliver here at the ZHAW, what brings to the society? So what is your goal in general or what should education change in society, or what should education bring to the society here in Switzerland, in your opinion?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I love that you picked up on those two aspects of systems and individuals, because it's a question I ask myself every day. Am I going to focus on changing the system, or am I going to focus on the individual needs of our students, for instance? So in general, I think our program offers a combination of both, and that's why I think it can be a good start in how education might work in the future in a better way, because we try to create a system that allows all students to develop the relevant competences that they can create the change that they think is necessary. So driven from a lot of innate motivation to change, but on a broader spectrum, what competences do they need? How can we develop them in a healthy way for and with the students, or how can they develop them individually? And hence we have a system that has aspects where they work in groups together on projects, for instance, or they have to go and study with students from other study programs. So on a systemic level, that's how we try to navigate it. But we also offer them individual coachings. So they have a choice of 3 coaches at the moment. They can choose who they want to go and talk to. They have, hours that they can use for these coachings. And there we have zero interest in, well, not zero interest, obviously, but like we're not going to go and ask, what are you discussing with the coaches? It's up to them to understand what their needs are, where they want to develop their competences or their skills. What are the issues they're facing at the moment, and how might they find ways to deal with that better? So that's then very much on the individual side. And it kind of pans out throughout the study program in a way that they can select modules that they want to study. They can create their own modules. We have an area called individual skills, where again, they really have to ask themselves, what's valuable to me and to the purpose I have after the study degree and during the study degree. And I hope by allowing these individualization aspects for the students, we can create a basis for, in general, people to go out into society and to be able to apply that more in a healthy way also. And then I think that's just, I find our society needs more people who know what purpose they have, what's driving them, what's holding them back, how might they overcome that, and be active and not reactive and passive. Yeah.
Very good point. And there would be my question, also from our experience, and that we are also working in the education field, but also are connected to a lot of the younger generation. And my observation is that, it's a big topic to find out the own purpose, and there are so many opportunities and so many ways to go. And I also observed that this is also, this has a negative term, that a lot of people, they lose orientation. So how would you describe the students that are coming to you, that they know already kind of in which direction they want to go, or is it really about the environment, the system that you need to create to develop them or help to guide them?
It's such a good question. So I think many students, I'm not 100% sure, I don't want to speak for them, but I think many of the students come with a clear vision. And it is also our task to allow them to step away from that vision. You know, I've realized that the first semester that we've had has been chaotic. It's been probably also at some points overwhelming for the students. And I think that chaos is so essential. It allows them the disruption that they need in maybe a very straight mindset to question why they're studying this degree, to understand better what they want to achieve within the 4 semesters, particularly also then after the 4 semesters. So in general, I also think for me, like, I have to question my purpose again and again and again. I need to, you know, it can change, it has to change. And to allow that chaos and then to be able to know how to find a way out of the chaos onto maybe a higher level of purpose or status quo or whatever, I find that very essential. And we have to find the balance, you know. We have to have a system where the students have enough guidance that they feel safe to explore. And we have to make sure that they explore. I find it a very tricky balance. I don't know if you have any other observations. Did you find something different?
It's a good point. Or I was also wondering, for some listener, it might be a little bit, okay, why chaos? I mean, we're living here in Switzerland. We strive for security. We like order. So maybe there also, I will answer your question, but maybe you can give also a hint. So what is the beauty in chaos, or why is chaos also needed? And then I will also give my point of view.
I've only recently come to this topic of chaos, and there's I'm doing an amazing leadership training at the moment with a wonderful lady called Michelle Grant, and we looked at the Satir Change Model, and it's basically a model on how you can see how we change. And what I love about it is this idea that you come with a certain status quo. There is a disruptive element to your life or to your system, to your work, whatever, to your project. You fall down into chaos, right? And this chaos can have, you know, different altitudes. It can go up, it can be less chaos, more chaos. And then there's points where you start working yourself out of the chaos. And those are the essential tools, right? You learn how you can use the chaos, make sense of it, and then kind of go into a higher level of development, a higher status quo. And what I found amazingly interesting is that, for me, the model of regeneration versus sustainability and resilience in food systems is very similar. We have at the moment this idea that we want to sustain stuff, but sustaining just means leaving it at that level that it is, and that's never going to be true. We are always going to experience change and disruption. There's always going to be chaos. And we need to find out how we can use that chaos to reach a higher level of status quo, rather than just going back, you know, reverting to the old status quo. And I love what you mentioned about, we're in Switzerland and risk, etc. Yes, that's so true. Our culture is based on non-troubles. We haven't faced famine in centuries, basically, really. We haven't had proper war in this country, again, for a very, very long time. So as a culture in Switzerland, I believe we've established this very high sense of security, and just a little bit of disruption to that security can spin us out of control. It can cause a lot of fear and uncertainty. And to start to love uncertainty, to love struggle and failure, that's one of the main goals also in our study degree, because only struggling, chaos, failure will actually allow us to further develop our skills, our purpose, our mindsets.
Someone there was making notes, but now it's on him. He has to answer
the
question.
I had enough time to think about, but
Yeah.
I love what you were saying, that chaos, there is something beauty. And when I look on my experience, or also the start of our the beginning of our company, establishing a company, there was so much chaos, and there was so much uncertainty. And I think in uncertainty or in chaos, there are a lot of possibilities, or you go out of your comfort zone and you explore a lot of possibilities. So I always said at the beginning, okay, I didn't know where we will end up, but I'm sure that with this step, or having this courage, you can discover a lot of things that you were never been thinking about. So, and from the experience I had, also how we do things, or especially in the education, how we work, how we make the setup. A lot of students, they are irritated about our methods at the beginning because they're so used to the old system. Okay, the lecturer stands there, is teaching what they can actually also read at home. And there I experienced at the beginning there is chaos, there is irritation, but when they allow to enter this process, then a lot of personal development can happen. Yeah, I'm not sure if you would agree or if you would say the same thing.
Yeah, especially if you bring different methods of interaction into the education or in the models that how you facilitate. Yeah, so there I think it's key to let them prepare and then work with them through interaction. Interaction will be key in the future. In the future of education, but maybe also a question for you, Maya, again, or is it a good answer for you for the moment?
Perfect. Well done.
How do you see? Of course, you are in a really futuristic masters now, but how do you see the future of education? And maybe if you think you and your purpose-driven actions in 3 or 4 years, where is education then?
Yeah. So in like the process of setting up the study degree, I try to look at education in a broader sense, because I love our master's degree. The thing is, we are on a very like specialized level, and already the students that come in, we have certain requirements to their backgrounds and to their also self-motivation, etc. And for me, the future of education becomes more inclusive and more accessible. I sometimes worry that we have like this high level of academic standards and we're leaving people out. That's not a feeling I like. But that's maybe just for me. But in general, I think these topics that we've started targeting in the degree, I think it's too late. These people, they've already gone through basic education, a bachelor's degree. I think we should start to include all these topics of, the buzzwords like soft skills and mindfulness and energy life balance or whatever you want to call it, already from a very, very low age. Because kids, once they start school, or let's just say the kids are born very, very curious. And if you look at the history of how education systems developed, their core goal was to standardize humans, right? Because you had the factories, so you needed... Like people just needed to come out of school to be able to go into manufacturing business, basically. And while we have progressed, obviously, in our education systems, we haven't really progressed past this mindset of standardization. We know how we think a person should look, work, and function. And shifting towards an education system that really allows individualization and much more room to study in different perspectives and have different accesses to material, for me, that is key on all levels. There's a wonderful book, Limitless Mind by Jo Boaler, and she really describes this beautifully on the example of math, because mathematics, physics, chemistry, they're these like heavy loaded topics with fear, right? There's a lot of people go like, I cannot do math. And she describes how educational systems for everybody can allow an access point to, for instance, math, where everybody can then reach high levels of math. And that's, for me, that's very, very beautiful. And that's what I'd strive to change in general in the educational systems.
So to sum up, to be more inclusion, but also to foster the skills like empathy, energy level, energy balance, you named it.
Personal resilience, there's a million of words, yeah.
Personal resilience, and then also to open up a lot of subjects which you can learn easily. Just depends how you want to learn it and what's the attitude you go into a topic. So away from standardized, back to more open, to self-created studies where you can choose what's most important for me as an individual and
exactly
in this way.
Choose what's more important for me, understanding still that of course there needs to be certain guidance systems and certain levels might need to be achieved in certain aspects or certain topics. For me sometimes I don't quite understand also where this comes from, that there are certain topics at school that are so much more important or so much, valued so much more. Well, it always seems to boil down to math, German, and French, and then everything else I studied at school wasn't relevant. That's how I saw it. And I think for me, that's a big problem because we're born super diverse. And we develop super diverse, like not even how we're born, just our development leads us to different pathways, to different personalities, to different strengths and weaknesses. And trying to include that in an educational system while still being able to maintain, a certain development in relevant topics, I think that's going to be very, very fascinating. I know there's probably a lot of people who go like, no, that's not going to work because of this, and we need to do this, and yes, there's a lot of no's, buts, and limitations. I try to dream big, and then the limits will come afterwards. So.
Really interesting. Also, the part about the skills will come back, of course, afterwards. But then maybe another question: when you're talking about limitation in modeling the future of education. What are parts which are limitations for you, and where should we do progress or be more disruptive or change things?
It's actually quite interesting. I see this in different aspects. I see this in when we try to work innovatively for food systems. Workshops that we do or kind of like design thinking processes that we do for other businesses. And I see it the same in the development of the study degree. It's this fear of not, of changing something and it not coming, when it's not coming from the people who are already in the system. So I think we were super lucky with our degree because we were allowed to start from scratch. The system in which we created it allowed us so much freedom to really go like, we don't want to do this, we want to do this differently, we want to try this. And I think it also came partly also from me not being from that system. So in our team, we were free to develop ideas without knowing whether they would work or not. And I thought that was quite essential. And the same is maybe for innovation in companies. There's this idea of maybe an external consultancy can develop a new idea for me. But then we have the phenomenon of not invented here. It was not created in the company it was intended for, and it's not going to be, it's almost like an organ that's not being accepted by the body, right? So I think that's kind of like, how are we going to find ways to work with the limits we have in the system that we want to change and still allow ourselves to really question these limits and really go like, really, does the structure make sense still? We want to achieve a different system in our study degree or in our company. Might that mean that we need to really question the limits that are holding us back? And isn't there a way that we can destroy these structures, the rules that we've set in place for good reason, but for a different world? All right, let's try something new, maybe on a small scale, but let's also cultivate a mindset where we are allowed to question the limits and the boundaries, and where it's okay to take away what has already been established. Yeah.
Speechless.
Apparently.
No, but yeah, but when I hear this sounds also. This can be the downside of all the time reinventing oneself or question itself can be also like tiring. Or I know this also from our company. We went through so many transformation process and always asked ourselves again and again. And of course, we are coming closer to the truth. But it also sounds exhausting and like you have to be very resilient and break a lot of big boundaries.
Yeah, you're speaking from my heart. I'm also sometimes at a point where I say, I think now we've tested it enough. It's like, what do we just let lie for a while in the study degree? What needs to be further developed, and how do we keep the energy to keep going forward? I don't really think I ever want to for myself reach a point where I don't want to develop at all anymore, neither myself nor the program. But I think it's very essential to be like, okay, this is the area I want to focus on. This is the priority at the moment. This is where I can invest energy in my personal development, in the development of a degree. And the other areas, they're just not priority at the moment. They can, they're running smoothly enough. We'll just, focus on them later. But I think it's very essential. I think it's also a key skill to understand where can my energy flow right now, right? And where do I need to take it back for a while? For me as a person, but also in a system, in a company, yeah.
And how do you do this on a personal level? Also, it needs a lot of self-awareness, but I'm sure some listener are curious. So how do I find out? Yeah, where should my energy flow?
Yeah, very good question. So on a super personal level, how I do it, it sounds super crazy and basic, but I meditate for 20 to 30 minutes per morning. It's taken me a while to get there. It's essential. I don't question it, I just do it. And then there's a couple of other tools concretely that I do is morning pages or trying to connect to my body, because I've realized I tend to stay very much in my head and my heart, and then the rest of my body kind of is disconnected. So that's on a very Maya's life kind of level. Nothing works for everybody, so I really encourage everybody to question for themselves, what areas are not working for me at the moment? How might I find out what could work? And I think any workshop or seminar or course in the areas of mindfulness, personal resilience are essential for us all. And also to bring it back into the educational systems. Yeah. Do you have any ideas for the listeners? Is there anything you do? You mentioned the chaos in your company. How do you keep the energy and the motivation to keep questioning everything?
Good question. The first thing is always to confirm what you were saying. As I'm also meditating in the morning, that's on a personal level. That helps me a lot to have clarity. And how do we do it in our company? Yeah? To find the time to reflect. I'm sure our team retreats, we constantly go every 3 months with the whole team. Wow. We do a retreat for ourselves to look back, to make this perspective, but also look ahead. And this brings a lot of clarity, how we work together, what were things that we were maybe not so aware of. And
clear the roles within the company, because we're working really role-based. Clear also the role or the competency everyone has, and where are the competency at the moment, and how do you bring the competency in with the clients that we have. I think that's key. To also to prioritize for me the morning pages. I also know I can also share that with you, Maya. I think these are keys, and I think we have to say it's not always chaotic. Our structure is really organized now. I think it also, you discussed the point. It's also always the question how big the organization is. The bigger the organization is, the harder is it really to bring down the structure. So you cannot compare we are 5 people. We are really agile and dynamic. Your institutions in general are bigger, so I think we also have to take in place that it depends on how big organizations are. But what's the sweet point then? Between smaller companies and bigger, there's always a point that we also do in our work to the point of chaotic. But what interesting was what you said. Hey, bringing back these skills, the skills behind the hard skills, more the soft skills, back to the study. In your opinion, what are important skills, future skills in what you want to that the student learns in the future, and which future skills are important in the labor market, in your opinion?
I think one of the essential skills is what you just said. Is you take breaks, you reflect, right? And you also mentioned just now, it needs a lot of awareness. I haven't really cracked the super good method on how to create awareness, or how to allow students to create their awareness. We're trying different things here. I think that for me personally is one of the most essential skills is this knowing that I need to reflect, knowing that I need to take a break, that I need to look back, that I need to look forward, that I need to realign the goals, the purpose, the path I am on, and then kind of reevaluate, what am I going to do? Center myself, center the team, center the company, the institution, whatever. And I think that's really beautiful, because as soon as I've discovered that for myself, I can also implement it in any team that I'm working in or any project that I'm facilitating. Because we have so I give some lectures in the bachelor's degree for environmental sciences at the ZHAW, and I do something similar with our master's students. The topics are, one topic is dealing with failure and struggle and how to create a better positive growth mindset around it. The other topic is how to include reflection practices into your projects. I think that is essential. If I haven't established a certain practice, small or big, to reflect or to be mindful or to center myself, I am never going to do it in stress situations. And it's the same for these retreats, right? If you would plan them in the moment of pure chaos and conflict, I'm not that you have conflict, but
sometimes.
If I would, no, but that's good, right? But if I would plan something like that in a situation of conflict, that's going to be so much harder. But if I've already planned it and I've already said, we're going to do this, we're going to look back, we're going to look forward, we're going to do this, then everybody knows this break is going to come, and then we can take it from there. I also think what helps with those situations is I know I'll be able to, compartmentalize a little bit. There's going to be a next step, and then we're going to start again from there. So it's not like this endless journey, and I have no clue where it's going to, which can be nice, but it can also very much overwhelm. It's more like I've broken it down into little steps, and I know it's going to, it's going to come in stages, and I can then refocus, which I also find, in projects in general, I find that essential.
Yeah, reminds me that we have to plan our next event.
We decided already we want to go to the nature. Last time we were in Berlin together. Next time we want to go on a camping and on the somewhere out in the nature. Yeah.
And I didn't really answer your question. I'm sorry about the work market, the skills that's needed in the work market. While setting up this study degree, I did a lot of interviews with company directors, etc. I really tried to find out, and the team also, we really tried to find out what competences are needed. And I think it's really interesting because you can generalize them. Often you can go okay, obviously communication skills. It's one of the things, it's a standing joke, no? What went wrong? Communication. And still we haven't found a way to really allow people to develop communication skills. Still not. I don't see it, not even enough in our degree. Conflict management skills, because I think what's happening often is still in degrees we very much focus on knowledge. Also in the old educational systems in Switzerland, it was always knowledge-based. We're shifting towards competence-based, right? Instead of saying you need to know X, Y, Z, it's you need to be able to do X, Y, Z. Fine, but you can wrap any knowledge into a competence. It's not that hard to do. But reintroducing or introducing skills that are essential when dealing with people, which is what we do every day, into the education system, essential. And I think that's what often goes wrong in the transition from a study degree and starting work. Is you come from a system that is knowledge or competence based, and you go into a system that I find very often is human based, right? I mean, people have brilliant ideas, but they can't communicate them properly. Or all of a sudden, they have to start working in a team where it's not about handing in an assessment and getting a good grade, but actually achieving a work purpose. And the pressure is so much higher, and they've never had to deal with that in the study degrees. So I think it's between education systems and the work market, there needs to be more communication also to understand better, okay, what's going on in in general on the work market, what's needed, to understand what are the students coming with, what are their expectations, and then being able to, as an educational institution, already also see into the future what's going to develop and how can we integrate that fast into our degrees. Because it needs to be separate, but it needs to work together. Yeah, I think it's not very concrete, but
no, but I can totally agree. Yeah, as I think it was also from our research that we did. We also did a lot of qualitative interviews with the labor market to also better understand and maybe also to find out what do they miss from people that are straight coming from the education. And there, one point you said already is self-awareness, self-reflection, big point. And the other thing is what they're often missing is this transdisciplinary agile mindset. Yeah. So how do you foster this in your degree, or would you agree that this is quite relevant?
Important. So important. Yeah, I love that you said that. I know it's a super annoying buzzword, but this interdisciplinary, transdisciplinary, being able to take the perspective of somebody who's coming from a different area and integrating it and working together, I find that super essential. Mainly in the area of food systems, I can relate to it a bit more easily, is because the problems come from being institutionalized and being separate and working in silos and trying to solve problems by ourselves as experts in our field. There's a wonderful book called Range. I think the author is David Epstein, and he kind of proclaims that, and he's not the only person, but I remember from that book how the most innovative, disruptive solutions for problems have been found by people who are not at all the expert of that field. You need to ask people with fresh eyes, fresh mindsets to look at a problem that you're trying to solve, because they're not going to be inhibited by that's not going to work, that's not going to work, that's not going to work because. So if I, as a person, have never learned to go and ask people with other skills or to work with people from other fields in an educational system, I probably won't start doing that very naturally or organically in the institution I work for. And the workplaces, they need to foster that too. And I think they do sometimes. They have these systems to give in, problems and solutions and stuff. But understanding the beauty of complementarity rather than trying to have the same things always on one place, specialization, etc. I think it's very essential. I don't want to say that we don't need specialists. That's not at all what I'm saying. I think we have enough specialists and there's enough systems where specialists can thrive. I think we also need the generalists, the people bringing people together, so that we can really create systemic change.
Yeah. I totally agree. Or what I was wondering, or what I'm still find annoying, that we still today we didn't find out the proper way how to make or to find a better way how we assess the students. It's still very much about grades, and now we talked a lot about soft skills, personal skills. So there would be also my interesting point. How do you measure these skills, or maybe also how does the personal record look like? Is it still about the 6 and the 5? And
or is there beside the hard skill degree also maybe a personal skill profile degree where you can see straight where the person is strong on the side of the soft skills, because we measure a lot. I think it's also important to measure that with our partner company. But yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah. We put a lot of thought into those aspects, and it's interesting. I think that's one of the areas where maybe the institution's standards created a system with us that was, or is at the moment, I think, better than what we were striving for even. So initially we thought we wouldn't want any grades. And we're not allowed to do that. For me, so again, I don't have years and years of experience in education. Also means that I don't have this, it must be grades idea. And me personally, I always, good grades was something I very much strived for. And I think I realized, as a student, and I think I realized that was always the wrong reason to study. And I think that also, when we were setting up the study degree, like, okay, no grades, because also science has proven, like in education, we know grades, they don't only not help development and learning, they actually hinder learning. Grades hinder learning. And so we thought, okay, no grades. And then the ZHAW said, nah, it's not going to work. And now we have a system where over the entire study program, the students are part of a team, they create a business model, and those 4 modules are graded. Also, their master thesis that they do individually is graded, and that together gives their final grade for the master's degree. That's like 30 ECTS for anybody who's interested. 1/3 of all they do in the study degree is graded, and that's their final grade also. And I also thought, in hindsight, still we have a lot of workplaces, and we're back at the workplace, right, who want to see a final grade. I think that's still very much part of the culture, and that's not something we want to, we don't want to have students leave our degree and not be able to be employed because they didn't get a final degree. So I think that's, that's a good idea. However, the other 60 ECTS, so the other 2/3 of our degree, either don't have grades at all, so they have pass-fail, classically, or they have grades that, because that's again a system we couldn't change, are on the personal record but don't count, like they don't matter in the grade, they just need to pass. But in the discussions for this whole records management system, I also said, listen, it's not a good idea to have only numbers or pass-fail. How can we provide the students with a document that shows their personal development, shows what they did in individual skills, shows why they chose maybe the elective modules that they chose, or also whatever they want to share that they developed. We don't have a fixed system in place yet. I'm trying to, also work with the other study degrees at the ZHAW, because they might have interesting input, and I really want to also set it up maybe with the students, or even really good input, like also go back to the workplace and ask, like, how could that look? My idea at the moment is that they almost get like a work reference, but from the study degree. Set up in collaboration between the students, the coaches, and probably me as study program director, handed out where you can see what they developed, how they developed, what was essential for their journey, with what soft skills are they leaving, with what hard skills are they leaving. Yeah. We have a bit of a discussion going at the moment, like how relevant is that for the workplace, and does it really make sense? How would it make more sense? But I love that we were able to introduce that. Yeah. Excited to see like 2024, the first development. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Did that answer your question, Nina?
Yeah, perfect. Okay. No, that's good. You're going forward in this topic. I like to listen. Yeah, it's interesting. I think we're coming to an end with the time. Maybe if there's a question, we can have a last one, and then I would say we can close this nice session.
Yeah, I would like to hear from you. How was the experience? What were your thoughts, or when you look back to the podcast we just had? Yeah.
The experience of the podcast? I think it's always amazing. Like, you get nervous, right? People are going to ask you questions, and you have to answer them in a purposeful, creative way, etc. But then in a discussion, I always find questions are beautiful, right? They open up for new ideas and creativity, and then answers, they can be relevant or not so relevant. But what I found is, like, you gave me, just asking me questions gave me so many ideas, and I think, like, I was always take a mental note, I must ask more questions. So it was a really nice experience, definitely.
Glad to hear. I was very inspired by the talk, thanks to you too, and especially I like that you mentioned a lot of books. So that shows me that you're interested in reading, so I can definitely share that, and that inspired me.
So it was good for you too?
Yeah, thank you, Maya. You were inspired too then with a lot of questions. I think it's also good that you said, hey, questions are really valuable. So all the people out there, I think, to listen actively and ask the right question in the right moment is sometimes more valuable than just talking straight out what you're thinking. So with these words, I would say I'll close this podcast to the futuristic workplaces and institutions. And I want to thank you, Maya, again, that you were a part of our podcast. And yeah, see you soon. And we're closing here from Zurich at the ZHAW. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.